welcome you all for the fourth video lecture session on Module 5, which is Sampling Theory. So as a part of Module 5, in the previous sessions, we have seen the joint distributions, joint probability distributions, and how to go about solving, finding the mean, variance, and standard deviation, many things. So here, in this session, we shall concentrate on sampling theory. As the name itself says, based on the sample, we are going to decide about the entire quantity or entire data which is being given to us. So that is sampling in simple words. So let us get into that exactly and let us see what exactly it tells about. So sampling theory. So in this sampling theory, let me talk about random sampling first. So random sampling, a large collection of the individuals. Individual here refers to an elements. So a large collection of the individuals or the attributes or the numerical data can be understood as a population or universe. So we say as a set theory, we have already discussed about the set theory. The entire set, the large set, which has all the outcomes. So our set which consisting of all possible outcomes is called as a universe, or it is also called as a population. So here, a large collection of the individuals, either it can be the people, it can be values, or it can be the numerical data, and that can be considered here as a population, or it is considered as a universe. So here, from this population or a universe, a part of the data has been considered. So that a finite subset of the universe is called as a sample. So there was an entire set. From that entire set, a few elements have been segregated and we made that as a separate set. That we call it as a subset of the main set. So such subset is called as a sample. So the number of individuals in the sample is called as the sample size. The number of elements from that subset is called as the sample size. And if the sample size happens to be equal to 30 or less than 30, then the sample is said to be small sample. Otherwise, it is called as the large sample. So here, I told you there was an entire set. From that entire set, if this is an entire set, imagine this is an entire set. From this entire set, I am just considering a part of this set. So this is called as a sample and this is called as the universe. Okay, so how do we select this sample from this set? We are going to apply some rule. Either if I consider this universe as a set of numbers, then collecting the even numbers can be a sample. Or if I consider this as an 100,000 people, so if I consider this as a 1,000 people from the same locality, then in that collecting the segregating men and women can be the sample. So likewise, the process, there should be a rule applied to make a sample. So the process of selecting the sample from the population is called as sampling. The process of taking a sample from the population is called as a sampling. And the selection of an individual or an item from the population in such a way that each has the same chance being selected. So as I have told you, that you can consider the same set which has got 100 numbers. So from that 100 numbers, we want to choose any number. So once we want to choose any number from the set of 100 numbers, then every number has its own choice. Every number has got an equal chance for being selected. Such sampling is called as random sampling. So here, suppose we take a sample size n from a finite position of size n, then we will have possible samples. We will have a minimum number of sampling, and that random sampling is a technique in which each of the samples has equal chance of being selected. So then proceeding further to say a little more about sampling. Sampling where a member of the population may be selected more than once. So imagine there is a container. In that container, I had got many balls. So imagine there are 6 or 10 balls. For example, there are 10 balls. 5, 6. Okay, there are 10 balls. 10 balls, all 10 are of different color. So now there is a sampling process is going on, means choosing one ball from this container. So if I remove one ball from outside, then there are remaining 9 balls. So now I'm not going to replace this ball back. If I want to go for a second draw, the second draw is based on only the 9 numbers. That is called as, this process of selecting the element from a sample is called as sampling without replacement. So now that is one way. Now I'm going to, once in the first draw I have taken a ball and I'm going to keep it here. Then again I'm going to replace it back. Then again I had got 10 balls. From this 10 balls, choosing again one more, then there is a chance that the first selected ball being selected for the second time also. So that is called as sampling with replacement. So we had got sampling with replacement and the other one is sampling without replacement. Okay, the simple sampling is a special case of random sampling in which the trials are independent and the probability of success is a constant. The word statistics here is often used for the random variables and for its values. So now let us see what exactly the sampling distribution is. So suppose that we had got different samples. Now you know what is a sample, what is sampling. So now we had got different samples, subsets. There are many subsets, say S1, S2, S3 are the three subsets we have taken. And each subset has got n elements. So size of the sample is n. And these samples are being drawn from a population. Then for each and every sample of size n, we need to compute the quantities like mean, standard deviation and etc. And obviously they will not be same because the samples are different. Even though the number of elements in the samples are same, but the rule that we have applied while drawing these samples from the universe is different. So obviously the mean, standard and mean, variance and standard deviation is going to be different. Then suppose we group these characteristics according to their frequencies, then the frequency distribution so generated is called as the sampling distribution. And these can be distinguished as a simple distribution, mean, standard deviation, etc. So now, okay, sampling distribution of a large sample usually is treated as a normal distribution. So now there is another terminology which we need to know, which is a standard error. The standard deviation of a sampling distribution is also called as the standard error. So in all other distributions like Poisson, binomial, exponential, normal and other distributions, we have used standard deviation. So here in sampling distribution, the standard deviation is called as standard error and we are going to represent it as SE. The reciprocal of this standard error is called as precision. So these are the two new words which we are using here. And to check the sampling distribution, we are going to adopt some hypothesis and we are going to check whether the hypothesis is right or wrong. So test of hypothesis will be done for the sampling distribution. In order to arrive at a decision regarding the population, so this, okay, there was an entire set. So imagine there is a human body and it has got blood. So there is nearly 4 to 5 liters of blood every human is having. So in that, we need to do a blood test. So in order to do a blood test, how much the blood can be collected? It is only 5 ml or 10 ml hardly. So depending on the characteristics of this 5 ml or 10 ml, we're going to decide the blood nature in the entire body of that particular human. So the sample is very, very important here, the 5 ml or 10 ml. So based on the characteristics of this sample only, we're going to decide about the entire blood nature of the person. So in order to arrive at a decision regarding the population through the sample of the population, we have to make certain assumptions which are referred as hypothesis, which may or may not be true. So some assumptions will be considered while making a decision and those assumptions may be right, may not be right. So the hypothesis formulated for the purpose of its rejection under the assumption that it is true is called as null hypothesis. So hypothesis which has been formed for the purpose of rejection, we need to reject the data under the assumption that it is true. Whatever we are rejecting, we are assuming it is true. And such an hypothesis is called as null hypothesis and we are going to represent it as H0. On the other side, any hypothesis which is complementary to the null hypothesis means a hypothesis which has been formulated to accept under the assumption that it is true is called as alternative hypothesis and it is denoted by H1. So to see examples here for the better understanding, to test whether a process B, capital letter B, is better than a process A, we can formulate a hypothesis as there is no difference between the process A and B. And there is another example. To test whether there is a relationship between two variables, we can formulate a hypothesis as there is no relationship between them, and we assume that there is no relationship between them, and we are going to prove it, and we are going to observe that there is a relationship. So even though the statement is true, we have rejected it, so that becomes a null hypothesis. If the statement is true and it has been accepted, then it is going to be an alternate hypothesis. Likewise, so here when we make these hypotheses and certain assumptions, there are errors are going to happen. There are two types of errors. One is type 1 error and the other one is type 2 error. So in a test process, there can be 4 possible situations, of which two of the situations leads to the 2 types of errors, and the same has been presented as follows. So example, hypothesis is true and hypothesis is false. Accepting the hypothesis and rejecting the hypothesis. So there is an hypothesis has been formed, and we say hypothesis may be true and hypothesis may be false. And the hypothesis under certain assumption, it can be accepted or it can be rejected. There are 4 possible cases. So now let us see. The hypothesis is true and it is same thing has been accepted. Then it is a correct decision. So hypothesis is true and it has been accepted. This is a correct decision. Now the hypothesis is true but we have rejected it. So this is a wrong decision. Similarly, hypothesis is false but we have accepted it. Even then it is a wrong decision. The hypothesis is false and we have rejected the hypothesis. That is a correct decision. So this 4 cases comes under this type 1 and type 2 errors. So in order to maximize both these types of errors, we need to increase the sample size. Okay, so it is further important to note that acceptance or non-acceptance of the hypothesis is purely based on the information revealed by the sample. So in order to say a person who has, okay, we can take a COVID situation itself. So in order to say a person is having a COVID positive, the sample will be collected first and the sample is going to be tested. Based on the sample only, we are going to tell about whether the person is having a COVID or not. So accepting or rejecting is based on the sample which is being collected. And what is indicated by the particular sample may not always be true in respect of the population. Okay, so the region which amounts to the rejection of null hypothesis is called as the critical region or critical rejection. Okay, now we are talking about the significance level. So at what marginal level it can be accepted or it can be rejected. So here the probability level below which leads to the rejection of the hypothesis is called as the significance level. The probability is conventionally fixed at 0.05 and 0.1, or we also say it is at 5% or 1%, and these are called as the significance levels. And we feel confident in rejecting the hypothesis at 1% confidence level rather than at 5% confidence level of significance. So 5% level of significance can also be understood as probability of committing errors either of type 1 or type 2, which is 0.05. So now there is a test of significance and the confidence intervals. The process which helps us to decide about the acceptance or rejection of the hypothesis is called as the test of significance. So here we consider the normal population where mean mu and standard deviation sigma, where x bar is the sample mean. With this z, the normal variate z is going to be x bar minus mu by sigma by square root of n, which is called as the standard normal variate. And this will be used in order to check the confidence limits, or whether we can accept or reject, or it is a confidence intervals. So from the table of normal areas we can find that 95% of the area is lying between z, which is equal to minus 1.62, z is equal to plus 1.6. It is nothing but at 5% level of significance, which is denoted by z 0.05. We can write the verbal statement in the mathematical form as follows. So this is how we are going to write. Z is nothing but this. This lies between minus 1.6 and plus 1.6. So now this sigma by root n can be transferred towards and multiplied throughout. So we get this, and then we are going to take mu. So this mu will keep it, this mu can be transferred, or add mu throughout. So mu less than or equal to x bar plus sigma by root n into 1.96. And the other side we have x bar minus sigma by root n into 1.96, which is less than or equal to mu. And also we can write by combining two results. Both the results can be combined and written in this form. And similarly, from the table of normal areas, 99% of the area lies between minus 2.58 to plus 2.58. So this is for 5% level of significance, and this minus 2.58 and plus 2.58 is for 1% level of significance. So you can observe the graph here. So this is at 95% of significance level. So there is a 5%, the values here, the end values minus 1.6 and plus 1.6. And the same thing for 99% of significance is going to be this. So you can see the graph here, this is for 95% and the outer one is for 99%. The standard deviations can be observed from this graph. So these are the basics about the sampling, and in the next class we shall discuss about